Hello there. I watched The Face of Fu Manchu last night, which was the first Christopher Lee Fu Manchu story, and I suspected that as it was the first film, it might have been a little bit more in depth and perhaps better quality story-wise than the last two I watched, which was the fourth and the fifth film. I said they were a bit twee. I enjoyed the fifth. I have to be honest, I wasn't really too keen on the fourth one. I thought it was a bit shallow in many ways, as I've said before, so I won't go through that again. But the first one was completely different. You didn't have a Nayland Smith played by Richard Green, but you had it by another actor called Green, Nigel Green, which I'm sure you remember. I think he was the man in Zulu, the sergeant in Zulu, and all that sort of thing. Anyway, Nigel Green plays Nayland Smith, and he played him a lot better. He looks like a man living in the late 20s or early 30s, and the whole feel of the film was a lot better. The story also centered more around Nayland Smith and his sidekick and the good guys trying to catch Fu Manchu, whereas the last two stories that I'd watched was always surrounding Fu Manchu, and Nayland Smith was a little bit of a side story trying to track him down. So it was more concentrated on the Nayland Smith character pursuing the arch enemy Fu Manchu, and the whole setup was a little bit neater, a little bit more tidy. It was far-fetched. Some of the fight scenes were sort of like a little bit of a, like the way the old-fashioned John Wayne films were, when you get a punch here, there, and everywhere. But you could see parts of it were meant to be set in East London's Limehouse area, and they're running down these streets, and you can see that it's in Dublin and it's the River Liffey and all these docks along the River Liffey. But that didn't really take too much from the film. And when Fu Manchu attacks this place in Essex with I think a poison where he kills a lot of people in the town, it's quite sinister in some ways. The village, this Essex village by the coast, it's a little Irish village by the coast. You can see it's got this feel of Ireland, but I think people outside of England and Ireland perhaps might not recognise it too readily. But anyone from Ireland or from England would know that the areas in London were really in Dublin. I think you just know straight away. But it didn't take anything away from the film. It had that nice feel about it, and it was a lot better than the fourth and the fifth films of the Fu Manchu franchise. I have to say I enjoyed the Face of Fu Manchu, the first one, the best so far. I'm a little bit more hopeful for the second one now, which I think is either The Bride or The Vengeance of Fu Manchu. I don't think it's Nigel Green playing Nayland Smith in the second one. I think there's another actor in the second and third, but I can't remember who he is. But we'll have to wait and see. But The Face of Fu Manchu so far, the very first one, is good. I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot, and it had that old-fashioned feel about it, that old flavour. And I have to say that I really, really did enjoy it. So far of the Christopher Lee Fu Manchus, I would say the first one that I've watched is the best. The fifth one was all right, it's still entertaining. And the fourth one, I wasn't very keen on that one. I don't think it was edited together very well, and it didn't flow as good. This first story flowed really well. There was a few sort of like what do you call it, continuity things, which it didn't really go past that badly, but it had better quality actors. The only thing I would say is that some of the high-ranking Chinese people that are in the film always seem to be played by Caucasian men looking like Chinese men, and it didn't work. Even some of the minion helpers were Caucasian men. There were some Chinese people in it, but I just think if you had to make it nowadays, you would really need to have proper Chinese people acting the parts, because it would bring more authenticity to the film. You'd have to still, I keep saying the same thing, you'd have to still set it, because it's a Sax Roma film a story and it's set in the 20s and the 30s when things were still imperial. It is what it is, but you need to stick to that, even though a lot of people know, oh, you can't have all that. But yeah, you could still do it, but you'd have to make it a little bit, some of the horror things in it are covered up. You have to make it with a little bit more gritty and hard hitting. But again, I'm going to repeat myself again. This first Sax Roma film, The Face of Fu Manchu, I really enjoyed it. I like the feel of it overall, and it's well worth watching. So if you get a chance, give it a go. Good luck.